Ladies and gentlemen, let's get one thing straight right out of the gate. You think this is about hustle culture. You think I'm here to tell you to grind for 80 hours a week, sleep under your desk, and sacrifice everything on the altar of success. You're wrong. Dead wrong. What we're going to talk about today is a fundamental biological and neurological truth that has been bastardized by motivational posters and lazy thinking. We're going to talk about what hard work actually is at the level of your neurons, your cells, your very DNA. And I'm going to show you that it's not a choice. It's a biological imperative for a life of meaning. I want you to picture human brain, not from a textbook. I want you to picture the living, firing, 3-pound universe inside your skull. It's not a static organ. It's a dynamic, ever-changing landscape shaped by a single relentless force, your behavior. For decades, we thought the brain was hardwired after a certain age, a finished product. Then came the discovery of neuroplasticity, and it changed everything. Neuroplasticity is the scientific term for a very simple, very brutal concept. Use it or lose it. Every single thought you think, every action you take, every skill you practice is literally carving a new pathway in your brain. It's like walking through a field of tall grass. The first time, it's hard. You have to fight the resistance. The second time, it's a little easier. The 100th time, you've created a path so deep, so ingrained, that you can walk it with your eyes closed. That is the physiology of habit. That is the neurology of hard work. Now, let's talk about the opposite. Let's talk about comfort. Let's talk about the sofa, the Netflix subscription, the easy job, the path of least resistance. When you choose comfort, what are you doing to your brain? You are allowing those neural pathways to atrophy. You are letting the grass grow back over the paths that lead to discipline, to resilience, to mastery. You are, in a very real sense, performing a slow, comfortable, self-administered lobotomy. You are telling your nervous system, I do not need to grow. I do not need to adapt. I am safe here in this mediocrity. And your brain, being the obedient servant that it is, says, okay, boss. And it starts to shut down the unused circuits. It prunes the synapses you're not using. This isn't a metaphor. This is cold, hard science. The comfort zone is not a pleasant resting place. It is a neurological graveyard. I'll give you a real-life example, not from a business, but from a clinic. I worked with patients who had suffered catastrophic strokes. They had lost the use of an entire side of their body. The ones who recovered, the ones who fought their way back to functionality, were not the ones with the best genes or the youngest bodies. They were the ones who embraced the agony of the rep. They would sit for hours trying to move a single finger, their face contorted in effort, sweat pouring down their temples. It was ugly, it was painful. It was the purest form of hard work I have ever witnessed. And in their brains, under MRI scans, we could see it happening. We could see new neural connections forming like tiny sparks of lightning, rerouting around the damaged tissue. They were rebuilding their brains, synapse by painful synapse. They understood on a primal level that the pain of the work was not the enemy. The pain was the pathway. Now, you in this room, you haven't had a stroke, but let me ask you, what parts of your potential have you let become paralyzed? What dreams are lying there dormant because you're unwilling to go through that same agonizing, beautiful process of neurological rewiring? This is where the logic gets deep and it gets personal. Your mind, your consciousness is the CEO, but your nervous system is the entire company. You can't just issue a decree from the corner office, be successful, be disciplined, and expect the mailroom, the IT department, the sales team, your entire physiology to fall in line. You have to train the organization. And the only training that works is consistent, relentless, uncomfortable action. When you force yourself to get up at 5 a.m., when every cell in your body is screaming for more sleep, you are not just waking up early, you are firing a specific sequence of neurons. You are releasing a specific cocktail of neurotransmitters, dopamine for reward, norepinephrine for alertness. You are telling your autonomic nervous system, we are in command here. We set the agenda. That one decision, repeated, physically alters the structure of your brainstem and your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. You are literally becoming a different biological entity. one that is proactive, not reactive. The modern world is designed to hijack this system. Notifications, sugary foods, endless scrolling, they are all engineered to provide a cheap, easy hit of dopamine. It's neurological junk food. And just like a diet of fast food will wreck your body, a diet of low-effort, high-reward stimuli will wreck your mind. It will downgrade your capacity for deep, focused work, which is the only work that matters. It will make the pain of the rep, the struggle of learning a new skill, feel unbearable, because why struggle to build a business when you can get a little hit of social validation from a like? Why read a difficult book when you can watch a funny cat video? This is the war you are in. It's not a war against your competition. It's a war for the sovereignty of your own nervous system. Hard work in this context is the ultimate act of rebellion. It is you declaring that your brain is not for rent to the highest bidding, distraction, training. So, let's reframe this entirely. Stop calling it hard work. That term is exhausted. Call it neurological sculpting. Call it physiological leadership. You are the architect of your own biology. Every time you choose the difficult conversation over the easy silence, you are strengthening the neural circuits for courage. Every time you write that report, practice that presentation, or build that prototype when you're tired, you are not just completing a task, you are laying down myelin, a fatty sheath that insulates your neurons and makes them fire faster and more efficiently. You are making yourself biologically more capable of excellence. This is not abstract. This is as concrete as building muscle. You wouldn't expect to walk into a gym for the first time and bench press 300 pounds, yet you expect to wander through life avoiding discomfort and suddenly achieve monumental success. It is a biological impossibility. The level of your achievement is limited by the level of your personal development, and your personal development is a direct consequence of how willingly you engage in the controlled, purposeful stress we mislabel as hard work. This is why the stories of great achievers so often sound the same. The relentless practice, the obsessive focus, the countless failures. They weren't just being driven. They were engaged in a systematic process of biological and neurological transformation. They were forging a brain and a body that was capable of handling the very success that they were pursuing. The goal isn't to arrive at some destination of success and then finally relax. The transformation is the destination, the person you become. The resilient, capable, confident person with a highly trained and disciplined nervous system. That is the prize. The mansion, the yacht, the financial freedom, those are just the receipts. They are the external proof of an internal biological metamorphosis. And this leads us to the most critical component, the fuel that makes this entire engine run, the element without which the hard work becomes nothing more than miserable, grinding toil. It's not discipline. It's not willpower. Those are finite resources that get depleted. The ultimate fuel source, the one that is limitless, is a powerful, emotional, visceral why. You have to have a reason that is so compelling, so deeply felt, that it makes the pain of the work feel insignificant. It has to be a reason that you can taste and smell and feel in your bones. For that stroke patient, the why was being able to hold their grandchild's hand again. That was the image that got them through the agony of physical therapy. What is yours? Is it the look in your father's eyes when you pay off his mortgage? Is it the feeling of building something that outlives you? Is it the freedom to dictate the terms of your own life? Your why must be so powerful that it activates your entire limbic system, your emotional brain. It must release a flood of neurotransmitters that override the short-term signals of pain and fatigue. Without that, you are just a machine trying to follow a program, and you will eventually shut down. With it, you are an unstoppable force of nature. Let me be brutally honest with you. The world does not need your mediocre version of yourself. The world does not care about your excuses. The biological reality is that you are either growing or you are decaying. There is no middle ground. Stasis is an illusion. When you are not actively, consciously, and forcefully sculpting your brain through challenging work, you are passively allowing it to be sculpted by the trivial, the mundane, and the comfortable. You are surrendering your biological destiny to the default settings of a culture that is designed to keep you docile and consuming. So, the question is not whether you will work hard. The question is, what are you working hard for? Are you working hard to build your own empire? To forge your own legacy? To become the most powerful, capable version of yourself? Or are you working hard to avoid that very fate by filling your days with busy work and distraction, which is, ironically, one of the hardest and most exhausting jobs of all? The first kind of work makes you stronger. The second kind of work drains your soul. You get to choose, but choose you must, because your biology is listening and it is responding to your choices every single second of every single day. It's either the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And I can tell you, from a neuroscientific and a human standpoint, the pain of discipline weighs ounces, while the pain of regret weighs tons. And that regret is a cancer of the spirit. It doesn't just live in your mind, it metastasizes into your physiology. We've measured it. Chronic regret, the kind that comes from a life of cowardice and inaction, elevates cortisol levels, suppresses immune function, and literally shortens telomeres, the protective caps on your chromosomes that are a key marker of cellular aging. So when you choose the easy path, you're not just making a philosophical error. You are signing a biological death warrant for your own potential. You are choosing a slower, more insidious form of death. Let me give you another example, far from the stroke clinic. Think about physical strength. You walk into a gym, you see a man bench pressing 400 pounds. What you are seeing is not a moment of effort. You are seeing the culmination of thousands of hours of microscopic trauma. Every time he lifted a weight he couldn't quite handle, he was creating microscopic tears in his muscle fibers. The body, in its infinite wisdom, responded to that stress, that hard work, by not just repairing the damage, but by overcompensating. It built back the muscle fibers thicker, stronger, more resilient than before. The stressor was the stimulus for growth. Now, apply that to your mind. The psychological stressor of taking a risk, of facing a fear, of pushing past your perceived limits. That is the stimulus for your neurological and emotional growth. You are tearing the weak, flabby tissue of your old mindset and forcing your psyche to rebuild it stronger. Avoiding that stress is like going to the gym and only ever lifting a 2-pound dumbbell. You might feel like you're doing something, but you are in fact atrophying. You are getting weaker while you congratulate yourself for showing up. This is the core of the methodology. It's about creating a self-imposed, controlled, and relentless environment of positive stress. It's about seeking out the heavyweight, not because you're a masochist, but because you understand the fundamental law of biology. Adaptation only occurs at the edge of failure. You must court failure. You must embrace the feeling of being in over your head. That sensation of panic, of, I can't do this, is not a signal to stop. It is the precise signal you have been waiting for. It is the starting line of real growth. It is the moment your hypothalamus screams, danger, and your entire system floods with chemicals designed not for you to run away, but for you to become superhuman. Your senses sharpen. Your focus narrows to a laser point. Your body mobilizes energy reserves you didn't know you had. This state, this beautifully uncomfortable state, is where the magic happens. Most people spend their entire lives running from this feeling. You must learn to crave it. You must learn to see it as your greatest ally. And this isn't just about grand sweeping gestures. This is about the minute by minute architecture of your day. It's about the compound effect of 1,000 small difficult choices. It's choosing the salad over the burger, not for vanity, but for the biochemical clarity it provides your brain. It's choosing to turn off the television and read a complex book on strategy or history, forcing your neural networks to fire in new, unfamiliar patterns. It's choosing to have the candid, difficult conversation with a team member instead of the polite, enabling one that lets mediocrity fester. Every one of these choices is a rep. Every one is a micro session of neurological and physiological training. You are either building an organism of excellence or you are building an organism of excuses. There is no other project. I want you to understand the emotional component of this. This isn't about becoming a robot. It's about becoming more fully, vibrantly, powerfully human. The deepest human emotions, pride, joy, fulfillment, a sense of profound self-respect, are not found in the comfort zone. They are the direct rewards for having faced a challenge and overcome it. They are the neurochemical rewards for hard work. When you stand on the other side of a massive challenge, having given it absolutely everything you have, the dopamine and serotonin that flood your system are not the cheap, fleeting kind you get from a notification. They are deep, resonant, and earned. They weave themselves into the fabric of your character. This is how you build self-esteem, not through affirmations whispered in the mirror, but through a proven track record of having done the difficult things you set out to do. Your self-image is a ledger of your actions. You cannot lie to yourself. Your subconscious mind, your entire nervous system knows the truth. It knows whether you took the easy way out or whether you stared into the abyss and didn't blink. This is why mentorship is not a soft skill. It's a biological accelerant. When you surround yourself with people who are stronger, faster, smarter, and more demanding than you are creating an external environment that forces internal growth. You are giving your brain no other option. The mirror neurons in your brain are firing, learning, and adapting just by being in their presence. You are raising your own standards by osmosis. Conversely, when you surround yourself with weak, mediocre people who validate your excuses, you are triggering a different, more destructive form of neuroplasticity. You are reinforcing the pathways of complaint, of blame, of victimhood. You are literally building a brain that is wired to fail. Your environment is the ultimate sculptor of your potential. You must be ruthless in curating it. You must exile the dream stealers and the energy vampires from your life with extreme prejudice. This isn't being cruel, it's self-preservation. It's a necessary act of neurological hygiene. So we come to the crossroads. You now understand the mechanism. You understand that hard work is the deliberate, conscious application of stress to your system. Neurological, physical, emotional, for the sole purpose of forcing an adaptation that makes you stronger, smarter, and more capable. You understand that your why is the emotional rocket fuel that makes the pain not just bearable, but desirable. You understand that your environment is either your training ground or your prison. The theory is clear. The science is unequivocal. The logic is irrefutable. But knowing the path and walking the path are two different things. The map is not the territory. The final and most important piece of this puzzle is the transition from intellectual understanding to embodied action. This is the leap that 99% of people are unwilling to make. They want the prize without the price. They want the transformation without the fire. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why they will live and die in quiet desperation, wondering what could have been. And their ghost will haunt you if you let it. That ghost is the whisper in your ear that says, maybe tomorrow. It's the seductive lie that you have more time. Let me be the one to tell you with the full force of scientific and emotional conviction. You do not. Your biology is a clock that is ticking down, not up. Every day that you spend in comfort is a day you are not laying down the myelin, not forging the new neural pathways, not building the physiological resilience required for a legendary life. The moment between knowing and doing is where destinies are decided. It is the continental divide of human potential. On one side, the rivers flow to an ocean of mediocrity. On the other, to a sea of monumental achievement. And you are standing at the ridge right now. This is not a seminar. This is an intervention for your soul. The question screaming at you from the depths of your own biology is, what is the first rep? Not the 1,000th, not the 100th, the first. What is the single, most immediate, most uncomfortable action you have been avoiding? Is it the phone call to the investor that terrifies you? Is it firing the toxic employee you know is poisoning your culture? Is it throwing out the junk food in your kitchen and committing to a regimen of physical peak performance? Identify it. See it in your mind's eye with terrifying clarity. Feel the visceral resistance in your gut, the tightness in your chest. That sensation is not your enemy. That is the signal. That is the starting pistol. The ancient Stoics had a phrase, memento mori, remember you must die. This was not a morbid fixation. It was the ultimate focusing tool. It was a cognitive trigger to rip away the illusion of infinite tomorrows and force action today. I am giving you a modern neuroscientific corollary, memento inceptum. Remember you must begin. The most powerful force in the universe is a decided mind in motion. An object at rest remains at rest. An object in motion remains in motion. You are that object. The law of inertia applies to human potential just as it applies to physics. The monumental effort is not in sustaining the motion. It is in overcoming the initial staggering inertia of a life spent in rest. The first rep is everything. It creates a cascade. It sends a shockwave through your entire nervous system, a declaration of war on your old self. It tells every cell in your body, the old deal is off. We are doing things differently now. Do not misunderstand me. You will fail. You will fall on your face. You will make that phone call and get rejected. You will launch that product and it will flop. This is not a possibility. It is a certainty. And it is the most beautiful, necessary part of the process. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is the raw material. It is the data. Every failure is the feedback loop that prunes the ineffective neural pathways and strengthens the ones that lead to the correct solution. A child does not learn to walk by succeeding on the first try. They learn by falling thousands of times. Their brain is processing the feedback, adjusting the motor commands, building the complex model of balance and coordination. You must become that child again. You must embrace the falls, the scrapes, the humiliations, not as setbacks, but as the essential curriculum. The person who has never failed is a person who has never attempted anything worthy of their potential. Their brain is a pristine, untested, and ultimately useless map of a territory they were too afraid to explore. So what is your first rep? I am not asking for an announcement. I am demanding an internal contract with yourself, a silent, unbreakable vow. The world doesn't need to hear it. Your nervous system needs to feel it. It needs to be an action so immediate that there is no time for the parasites of doubt to infect your mind. The moment you leave this room, the world will try to reassert its gravity of comfort. It will try to pull you back into the orbit of the mediocre. Your only defense is instantaneous, decisive action. You must create a point of no return so powerful that there is no path back to the person you were when you walked in here. You are not designed for a life of quiet contemplation. You were designed for conquest. Your very DNA is a scroll of endless adaptation written in the blood and sweat of ancestors who survived ice ages and built empires. They did not have the comforts you have. They faced raw, existential stress every single day, and they overcame. That capacity is not a historical relic. It is sleeping in your cells, in the very core of your limbic brain, waiting for the alarm bell of a worthy challenge to wake it up. You are the heir to that legacy of relentless perseverance. To squander that inheritance on a life of comfort is the greatest betrayal imaginable. So, go, now. Not when you feel ready. You will never feel ready. Go, make the call, have the conversation, write the first page, lift the weight, embrace the beautiful, brutal, biochemical struggle of becoming. Your future self, the one you are destined to be, is not some distant phantom. They are a biological reality, waiting to be constructed, rep by painful rep, synapse by firing synapse in the glorious, unforgiving furnace of hard work. Build them.